Hi there, and welcome to The Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. And today we are going to make one of my most favorite dishes of all, jambalaya. And we're going to make a Cajun jambalaya. So the first thing we want to do is get our Ninja Foodi heated up. So let's turn that on. We want to go to sear saute on high. Then what I have is I have a 1/4 cup of canola oil, and then just a little splash, and I mean not even a teaspoon, of this hot chili oil. That's just gonna add a little bit of extra heat to this spicy jambalaya that I'm making. So let's go ahead and get the oil in, and then we're also gonna add in a 1/4 cup of butter. We're gonna just lay that right in there. So I want to talk about the Cajun seasoning rub that I made. Now, of course, you could use a pre-prepared kind, but this is so easy to make, and it really is fantastic. 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of black ground pepper, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground thyme, a 1/4 teaspoon of roasted ground coriander, which is very important. You want that in this seasoning mix. And then the final ingredient, which I think is kind of like my secret ingredient, is 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika. Now, if you don't have smoked paprika, you can use regular paprika, but the smoked paprika really adds in that extra boost of flavor. So what I want to do first is just give this a little stir. We're going to season up our chicken. And you know, if you've watched any of my videos, that I am a huge proponent for layering the seasoning. And that's what we're gonna do in this dish as well. So let's get this well blended. And then I'll use about a tablespoon on the chicken. Just put that on like that. Use our handy dandy tongs here to sort of mix this up. And this chicken is cut into about 1/4 to 1/2 inch slices. It's just chicken breast, and it is about 1.5 pounds. We just want to get this well coated. Now I want to make sure that my pan is pretty hot. Since we're working with a non-stick, we're not going to have, it's not a stainless steel. Stainless steel will tend to get that browning a little bit quicker. So I do want this oil and butter to heat up pretty hot before I put in the chicken. So let's just give it a stir here. Now you could use all oil if you'd like. You could even use all butter, but you do want to watch and make sure the butter does not burn. So we definitely want to give that a few more minutes to heat up. And while that's heating up, I'll just go over the rest of the ingredients. We have 4 cups of chicken stock. We have another 2 tablespoons of butter that we're going to add in a little bit later to saute our vegetables. We have 2 medium-sized carrots that were peeled and diced, 1 green pepper, 1/2 of an onion, and 2 stalks of celery that were diced. We also have green onions. This is a whole bunch of green onions. And I cut off the white part because I'm going to use those. I hate to throw away any food, and these are going to be great in the dish. So they're just going to add a little extra flavor. And then the green onion stems that we usually see, they're going to be the garnish at the end. I have about 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, 12 ounces of andouille sausage, 1.5 cups of rice. This is just plain white rice that I rinsed really well. You want to do that before you add the rice in so it doesn't clump up as much. Let me give this a stir. I can hear it, yep, sizzling away there. That's exactly what we want. And I also have 1/2 cup of flour because we're going to make a roux, and we'll go over that in just a minute. But first, let's get this chicken in. I'm going to put 1 piece in because I want to see, is it going to really sizzle? No, I think I need to heat that up just a little bit longer. Let this pot get really smoking hot. Okay, I think that's good because I'm seeing some browning happening on the chicken, and I just love that. So that's perfect. And I'm putting in like 1 piece at a time. I'm not overcrowding the pan because I really do want to get some flavor from this chicken, the browning. That's gonna add a lot of depth to our jambalaya. And I'm kind of putting it in the middle at first because if you're familiar with the inner pot of the Ninja Foodi, it's convex. So the oil is pulling around on the outside. So in order to get these a little bit brown, I'm gonna put them right in the center, and then I'll flip them over and put them into the oil a little bit there. And we are not gonna need to cook this very long at all. And honestly, you could skip this step. I really, really like to develop flavors when I'm cooking. And I think it's worth the time to do this. All right, so as they are finished, I'm gonna put them right into here. And again, we are just doing a really quick sear. And oh gosh, they're looking beautiful. Let's get a few more in here. You can smell those spices too. So all the chicken is nicely browned. Now we're gonna develop our roux. And a roux is simply equal parts of flour and some sort of an oil or grease. In this case, we're using canola oil and some butter. But you could use lard, you can use pretty much anything. Now once I get this combined in, I'm gonna look and see, I might have to add a little bit more butter in, and that's fine. Or you could add more oil. If you can see the color now, it's pretty light. Now, it's a little darker than it would be if I didn't add in this hot oil, because it adds a little coloring to it. But this would be considered a blonde roux. Anytime you're making a roux for like a cream sauce, so like if you were making macaroni and cheese, you wanted to make a roux, this would be about the color that you would want it to be. And you do want to make sure you cook it for at least 2 minutes to cook off the flour. Now, we're gonna take this roux into a darker state. So in order to do that, I wanna decrease the temperature because I don't wanna burn anything. So I'm gonna take it to medium, and then this is gonna take a little bit of time. You cannot walk away, okay? You need to stay right here and scrape it off the bottom and turn it around and constantly move it. And it's gonna like turn color. So it's gonna darken up, become a little nuttier in flavor, and it will become about the color of peanut butter. And then you can even take it darker than that too. This is one of the secrets here of Cajun cooking, is developing a nice roux. And it's totally worth the time spent. Okay, so this has been cooking for a couple of minutes, and you could use it now. You could certainly use it, but I really want to develop more flavor, so I'm gonna keep going with this, and it's gonna take about 15 to 20 minutes for me to darken up this roux, and I'm just gonna constantly stir it as I go. This roux is looking just a little bit on the thinner side than I want, especially since we're gonna be cooking under pressure. So you know we can't leave this here in the bottom. We need to put it on the top, and I don't want it to be so thin that it gets into our sauce and creates either a water notice or a burn notice. It's looking good though, it smells good too. So I just got a little bit more flour, and I probably won't use all of this. This is a little over a 1/4 cup, but I'm just gonna sprinkle it on top here. I know the consistency that I want to get, which is going to be just a little bit thicker than this. Just stir it in. That's looking good. Yeah, we are almost there. In fact, you know what? I'm bumping that heat back down because I can start to smell it. I do not want to burn this. I'm gonna turn the Ninja Foodi off. Move this around. I can really smell it, and that is about as dark as I'm gonna go because I do not want to burn this. And we're gonna get it out of here. Let's get that those 2 tablespoons of butter into our pot. We're just gonna set this roux to the side because we are not gonna add it until the very end. And now we're gonna put in our vegetables. Now this little bit of roux is not gonna make any difference here. What we're gonna add in, this is called the Holy Trinity. So it is a green pepper, finely diced. It is a couple stalks of celery and 1/2 of an onion. We're gonna go ahead and get that in and start to saute that. Oh, it smells so good. Now let's add in our carrots. This is 2 medium carrots, finely diced. Isn't that beautiful? Now ordinarily you would go ahead and add in your liquid and with the roux and kind of start to make the sauce. But because we're pressure cooking, we can't add this roux until the very end to thicken everything up. I was gonna put it under pressure, but it depends on how it looks after it cools down some. Oh, it's pretty thick. Yeah, it should be fine. So I'll probably add this in. I'm gonna wait to see though, because if it's still really thin, then I might just stir it in at the very end. And it smells really nutty now. Oh wow, it smells really good. There's no seasonings in this either. It's just the butter and the oil and the flour cooking down. All right, let those cook a few minutes. Meantime, let's get our garlic in. That's a good addition right now, so let's add that garlic in. Okay, that looks good. Now let's get this foodie heated back up again and get these vegetables sauteing. So we're gonna go to the sear saute, high is fine, no time, and there we go. Now if you need to add a little more butter, you need to add a little bit more oil, that's fine. You can go ahead and do that. I'm gonna leave that alone right now though. So now I have 12 ounces of andouille sausage. There's a couple different varieties that you can get. And honestly, this one is not my favorite. However, it's the only one I could find at the store near us. So what I wanna do is take these and I'm gonna cut them on the bias just to give these like long looking slices in our dish. This is not necessary, but I think it makes it look kind of fun in the dish. They're about 1/4 of an inch as well. Same size as the chicken. All right, perfect. Do that with all of them. Can hear this sizzling. I'm just gonna give it a little turn. Just gonna go a few more minutes and give these vegetables a little seasoning. So we have probably about 1.5 tablespoons left of the seasoning. So I'm just gonna put in probably about 3/4 of a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon. We wanna reserve some for our shrimp because we are gonna season our shrimp, which I have over here. This is a pound of large shrimp, which is I think 31 to 40 count per pound. And they're soaking in some ice cold water because you definitely wanna keep your seafood super cold until you're ready to use it. And since I didn't wanna have it in the refrigerator, I put it in ice water. All right, that looks good. Now let's go ahead and dump in our andouille sausage. Again, I'm just gonna saute these just for a few minutes. They're fully cooked, so you don't even need to cook them, but I am gonna throw them in just to sort of see if I can get some browning on them. Try to move the vegetable mixture around and get the sausages sitting on the bottom of the pan. That will help a little bit with the browning. All right, that looks good. Now we're gonna add in our 4 cups of chicken stock. And we wanna make sure that you scrape all around the pan to get off any of that roux or any of the brown bits that might be on the bottom so that those don't get too hot and give you that burn notice. It's looking good. It's looking like soup right now. Okay, now we can add in our 1.5 cups of white rice, and I've already rinsed the white rice. Give it a stir. Add in our chicken. This is where it gets easy. You spend most of the time developing the roux. The rest of it's pretty easy. Add in the chicken. We're gonna add in those green onions, the bottom parts. All right, so the last thing we want to do is add in this roux. And we're going to add it right on top. Do not stir. Whatever you do, do not stir. We're going to add it right on top of this. And I'm hoping it's thick enough. The last time I made it, it was a little bit thicker. If you're concerned, you could add a little more flour in as you're cooking it. But don't add flour right now, because if you don't cook it for a couple minutes, it will just taste really floury, and you don't want that. Okay. Now, let's get the pressure lid on. Make sure the black valve is on seal. Turn the Ninja Foodi on. Pressure high. Time is going to be 1 minute. And hit start. And that's it, guys. We'll just wait for it to come up to pressure, and then we'll do an immediate release. We'll add in our shrimp and get those cooked, and then we'll plate and we'll give it a taste. Okay, so the red button has popped up. It still hasn't started counting down, but since it's only going to be a minute after it starts to count down, I want to go ahead and get the shrimp drained a little bit. So I'm just going to take this out. Probably set it right on here. And then just let some of that water drain off. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle the shrimp with the seasoning. Give them a little stir around. There we go. Now we just wait for the minute to count down, and then we'll do an immediate release, and we'll get the shrimp folded in. We haven't gotten a burn notice or anything like that, or a water notice, so it seems like that roux on top is doing just fine. And I'm always excited when things work out the way I plan them to. All right, it's done. So let's go ahead and do the manual release of the pressure. All right, the red button popped down, so I'm gonna go ahead and open this lid, open it away from you. Do not worry about how soupy it looks. It will come together just fine. Okay, let's go ahead and add in the shrimp right on top here, and then we're gonna fold them in. And you'll see what I mean about the mixture. It will start to look a lot thicker. The rice looks perfectly cooked. Make sure all the shrimp are pushed down so that they have a chance to cook. So you want to push them down into the liquid. And then we're gonna go ahead and close the air fryer lid, and we're just gonna let that sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. That's gonna cook that shrimp perfectly. Then we're gonna be able to get our garnish of our green onions cut up, and we're gonna eat. Okay, so it's been just over 5 minutes, and I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple of these green onions chopped up for the garnish. And all I wanna do is cut them on the bias. Let's do one at a time. That'll make it easier, I think, for you guys to see. So again, just like we did with the sausage, we're just gonna take one slice on the bias. Now that's totally optional, of course. Watch the fingers as you get to the end. But I think it makes like a pretty design. And that's enough for my dish, to garnish my dish, so I won't even worry about that second one. Let's plate. Oh, this is the exciting part. I've got a dog down here. I don't know if you can see her or not. Her name is Callie. And Callie, I think, smells the delicious food that's in here and hopes I drop some, but I'm not gonna drop any. I hope. All right, so it looks great. Oh, it looks perfect. Now, let me look and see. I just want to take a peek at the shrimp, and they look like they are cooked. You know that they're cooked. They are a little, they kind of curl up a little bit, and that looks absolutely perfect. Now, these were shell-on raw shrimp, which I like to get, and then I just thawed them. They were frozen. I just thawed them with a little in running cold water, which is the best way to thaw shrimp. They thaw in no time at all. And I keep the shells because you can make shrimp stock out of the shells, and it is wonderful to add to any of your seafood dishes. Like if you're gonna make a shrimp scampi, definitely use those shells. If you don't wanna make it right then, they freeze beautifully. Just pop the shells into a little freezer bag and put them in the freezer till you're ready to make it. All right, let's garnish this up. All right, let's give it a taste. First up, one of those shrimp. So flavorful and perfectly cooked. Anytime you cook shrimp, I recommend doing it this way. I don't recommend putting shrimp under pressure. All right, a little bit of the rice. The rice looks like it's perfect. Wow, the flavors in this are amazing. The chicken just cut like butter. I say that all the time, don't I? Absolutely delicious. Definitely tastes like you got it at a restaurant. The flavors are amazing. That andouille sausage is good. It really works well in here. This rice is perfect. It's not gummy. The roux did its job. It thickened the sauce. This is a glorious dish. Super easy to make. Now the roux takes a little bit of time to develop, but I'm telling you it is totally worth it. The flavors are amazing in this dish. It is a little spicy, which I happen to love. And a perfect thing to eat after this would definitely be chocolate cake bites, which are flourless chocolate cake bites made in the Ninja Foodi, and they are delicious. And I will link to those right over there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. You can give me a thumbs up if you did, and if you haven't subscribed, you can do that right over there. I appreciate it so much. I feel like I'm at a restaurant in New Orleans. So perfect.